Hey Twihards! So the things I'm going to be discussing in this vlog is about how amazing and good Edward looks in Eclipse and how desperate Jacob looks. I'm sorry if you're Team Jacob and you're watching this. If you are, tune out now because I'm pretty sure you're just going to get angry. Now that I've said that, you guys are probably going to watch it. I'm going to put lame-ass comments down there. What can I expect? So let's begin. The first thing I'd like to point out is the fact that the majority of Jacob's lines consisted of him either telling Edward to back off and that Bella can still choose him, and that he is the better choice for Bella, and that he should know that. And the other half of his lines consisted of him trying to get Bella to tell him that she loved him more than Edward, and that he was the better choice, and that she wouldn't have to change for him. The one line that I really love that Jacob says to Bella in order to get her to love him is this: "Better you be really dead than one of them." Give me a minute. I don't know about you. It makes my heart melt every time I hear some guy say that. I mean, to know that Jacob much rather have Bella lying dead in the ground somewhere with worms crawling all over her instead of her becoming a vampire is just the most romantic thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I mean, screw Edward, that is just so beautiful. Now, obviously, that is some major sarcasm. I honestly don't understand how anyone can be on Team Jacob after hearing Jacob say that he'd much rather have Bella dead in the ground with worms crawling all over her than be a vampire. And I know all the Jacob fans are probably going to be like, "Oh, well, he said sorry and da-da-da." I know he said sorry, but still, he said he'd much rather her be rotting in the ground than alive and a vampire. Well, not alive, like undead. But still, the point I'm trying to make here is the majority of Jacob's lines make him sound desperate, and from what I can remember of the book, the majority of his lines did kind of have that essence. I can't believe I'm going to admit this, but I feel kind of bad that Taylor had to have such desperate lines, whereas Bella had so many lines that kept exclaiming, "I chose Edward, you don't have to do this anymore." I mean, Taylor said them with such conviction and so, like, strong and everything, and then, of course, Kristen's like, "I already chose Edward, blah, 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 shut up." It's the fact that, from what I can remember of Eclipse, Jacob had some desperate lines, but I don't think they should have just focused so much on those lines. Those are the majority of the lines he said were desperate sounding and pathetic. I'm sorry. I know, even though I'm Team Edward, I do have to admit that the fact that the majority of Jacob's lines were desperate sounding and pathetic, one, made me laugh, but two, I kind of, like, very, 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 very deep down, I do feel sorry that he had to have such desperate lines and that they shouldn't have focused so much on that. He should have had other lines that didn't proclaim desperateness or "I want you so badly, but I know I can't ever have you because she's already taken by a vampire." One of my favorite parts of the movie is where Bella walks out of the tent and she says hi to Seth, and then Edward comes walking up and she says, "I'm sorry about last night. I know that must have been hard on you." He said, "I definitely didn't make my list of top 10 favorite nights." And she says, "You have a list?" And then he says, "Yeah, every one of them I spent with you. My number one was when I asked you to marry me, Mrs. Cullen." And then Bella says, "Oh, it's the 20th century. I can always keep my name. Don't hold me to that." And then Jacob walks up and goes, "You're marrying him?" And then Bella looks at Edward and says, "You knew he was listening." And then Edward says, "He deserves to know." Now, I have to admit that way deep down in the recesses of my mind and my conscience, there's a small little voice going, "Aw, poor Jacob." But I could barely hear that little voice, because an even louder voice was jumping around and screaming, "Go Edward, go Edward, go Edward, it's your birthday, oh yeah, go Edward." Now, I do have to agree that Edward did hit below the belt and that it was kind of harsh, but Edward just had to give Jacob a dose of reality and say,
"Mad at me, 'cause if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. Don't be mad once you see that he want it. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it."
I just say that I don't like Beyonce's music. I respect her, but I can barely stand it for 1 second. But in this situation, that song fit perfectly because that's exactly what went through my mind when Edward said that. It'd be so much better or cooler if I had the actual engagement ring instead of my ring. And can I just say one thing? This is a very small tidbit, kind of random, but who cares? Right after Edward calls Bella Mrs. Cullen, Bella says something along the lines of, "Oh, I can always keep my name." What the heck is wrong with her? Edward Cullen just proposed to you, and you don't want to take his last name? That's like saying if Robert Pattinson or Taylor Lautner proposed to you, and you staring into his face and saying, "Oh, I don't want to take your name." Who wouldn't want to be Mrs. Pattinson? And for those of you who like Taylor, not me. I tolerate the guy. Seriously, who wouldn't want to be Mrs. Cullen or Mrs. Pattinson? Or for those of you who like Taylor, Mrs. Lautner. What is Bella's problem? What is your problem? I do not know. As an ending comment, I'm not at all trying to get those of you who are on Team Jacob on Team Edward. But if I did, then not for me. No, I'm kidding. That wasn't my goal when I set out to do this vlog. I just wanted to point out that I thought that Jacob's dialogue and the way he acted throughout the whole film just seemed desperate and pathetic and obviously obnoxious, in my opinion. He just made me want to rip off his head 10 times more. He seemed so selfish and so bent on trying to get Bella to come over to his side and try to get her to love him. And that's just not how you should treat a girl that you love and you want to try to, get. That's why I love Edward. I mean, he's not forceful. If this is what Bella wants, then he'll let her have it. He's not going to force her to do something that he wants to do. Because he's already tried that with New Moon and it didn't work out very well. Now, did it? No, it did not. Jacob needs to take some of Edward's advice and not force Bella into doing something that she does not want to do. Okay? Because that's never going to happen and it's not going to end well, as we very well saw in New Moon. Now, in my opinion, this video kind of has a point, but not really. It's kind of scattered across parts of the film. What I suggest to you is watch Caleb Nation's Eclipse review if you haven't yet. And if you're not subscribed to him, go subscribe to him. Because his videos are just awesome, and he is so funny, and he's just cool. I'm proud to call myself a nation here. I'm going to put the link to his video in the description box. Go sub him and go watch that video. Because what he says about Jacob and just the movie in general, I agree with him. That's how I feel about the movie. His opinions in that video are my opinions, except mine are just a tad bit more girly than his are, obviously. Thank you for watching this vlog. I'm sorry I haven't been making a vlog in a while. That will definitely change in the coming days and weeks. Please comment below. I love hearing you guys' opinions, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! How do you guys like my background? Yes, I'm wearing this hat because I'm cool. No, I'm not. No. I'm supposed to come off. There you go. Booyah. The first thing I'd like to point out is the fact that the majority of Jacob's lines either consisted of... Bleh. I talk too fast. Yeah, so, every night I sleep under Edward Cullen and Jacob. Oh, and Bella's there too. That didn't sound weird and sexual in any way. I mean, to know that Jacob much rather Edward be... I said Edward. This is the hardest part of it. Yeah. I'm like molesting a blanket. I can't believe I just said molesting a blanket. Great. So I mean to know that Jacob... what? Go away. I'm doing a video. No! I'm seriously just gonna kill this